Hi, I'm Hawkins656, and welcome to United Tutorials. Today, I want to talk about the basics of decorations. Now, I can't start by talking about these without kind of explaining what they are and what they're used for. Behind me is a very crude lifeboat, but one made out of blocks nonetheless. FTD, after all, is a block-based game. But what decorations allow the player to do is, well, a loophole, if you will. These are some of the lifeboats that are already available in the starter raft you've probably already seen 1,000 times in this game. What decorations do is allow you to bend, twist, and stretch and rotate any block mesh in the game. That's right. From all of these things, you can utilize these for aesthetic creations. So that's something that should be clarified about decorations. Is, well, in the name, they're purely decorative. Anything you make out of decorations will not have physical attributes. You can't really walk on them. Anything you shoot at them will pass right through, and they won't have any drag, which is honestly a plus side, especially for aircraft. And to just demonstrate that, we have a nice deco cylinder here. You can just walk straight through it. This is the origin block for that decoration. That's still solid, but the decoration itself is very much just for show. So let me come here into the build mode and access this decoration. First and foremost, you'll be greeted by this menu, and what it's going to look like, if you don't have anything at all, is this. So to clarify, what I did is I just place down the block I want to work on, hover over it, and hit left Control X. And that brings up this menu. What we're going to do to start here is hit the Add New Decoration button. And it's currently clipping through Z-fighting, if you will, the original block. You can see that gray mechanical mesh fighting with the alloy. And what we're going to do to just make things a bit clearer is come to hide original mesh. Not the place I wanted to start, but what this does is whatever block we were working on before is now invisible. We can drag this guy wherever we want to, and the physical block we were working on is now invisible. Its physical properties will still be there if you hit that tab, but it'll no longer be visible. What we have here on the left side of the screen might look a bit dense, but really just conceptualize it as 3 different sections. The first 3 sections relate to the position of the decoration. So I can slide these here, up, down, left, and right. Over here, next section down is the scaling. It adjusts the size and all 3 axes. Now that I have a big cube. Lastly, we have our rotation. Yaw, pitch, and roll. As simple as that. Now, what if you want to play with them maybe in a more tactile way? As I just showed you, there are these arrows on your screen here. Not only do they allow you to play with the scaling, if I hit right-click, you'll see the ends of them have changed to be circles. It is now rotation, so I can play with them in those axes as well, and of course scaling too. One thing I can also point out is the green box around it. This will help you locate the decoration, especially if it's perhaps hidden out of sight as it is right now. But in other instances, especially for something more circular, let's look up alloy pole. What I'm doing right here is using the decoration menu to select the mesh I want to use. As you can tell, there are quite a few options in this game, and I am just looking up the word pole. As I mentioned, you have access to everything, every mesh that it already exists as a block in the game, but you also have quite a few more. The most obvious ones that you can use, just look up Mimic, add that colon there, and you have all of these options. These are not necessarily conventional shapes that are expressed elsewhere. We have cones, cubes. You might not need this for most blocks, but applique is very helpful, especially since applique does not have a block to begin with. And of course, the mimic sphere. Without selecting the texture, it'll be this untextured blob. But that's just to show you a few of the options you have to work with. Moving over to the middle here, we have the coloring tab. This is where you color the decoration. Coloring the original block will not change the color of the decoration. That is all done in this tab. So another thing we can do here is we have our delete decoration option here. This will get rid of all the work we've just done on this particular decoration. These are tabs. This can stack up to around 100, I believe. In other words, it's a lot that you can build out of just this single block. But we're just going to copy it for now, come back to the Options tab, and hit Add New Decoration again. And that's how we create another tab. We're going to save ourselves some work. If we want to reuse what we had, we just hit Paste. And now we have another sphere. Next up is the origin point. As I established earlier, we hit Control X on this block to modify this particular decoration. Of course, you could do it in multiple spots. But that is not what we're doing here. What I want to show you, rather, is the Shift Tether Point options. So the tether point is currently this white alloy block we're working on, but what if we wanted to work on the wood beam below it? So I just hit the down tab, and if I click Control X here, you will see our decoration now belongs right here. If I show decoration wireframe again, you will see that the blue cube that the decoration is tethered to is now here. If I come back up here, fresh menu. What happens if I delete the block that the tether is attached to? In this case, that applique cube over this white alloy block again. You'll see that it turns red now that its tethered point is no longer attached. Of course, we can still access it, and by hitting down on the Shift Tether point, we've attached the deco to a physical block again. But the other option we have here, maybe we don't want this decoration anymore. And what I'm going to point out is the Delete All Untethered Decorations option at the bottom here. And this can be accessed anywhere. So if I come down to here, hit Delete All Untethered Decorations, you can see we have one untethered decoration remaining. That's our applique block. And just like that, it's gone. Another feature to talk about in the Decorations menu is the Apply with Mirrors function. To demonstrate how this works, I have a shuttlecraft here. We have our engine nacelle here on the left side with all the work we want done. Over here on the right side, we're missing a bit of work in that section. So how do we transfer the work we've done to the left side with mirror to the right? If you do not have your mirror mode activated, the Apply with Mirror section, as you can see here, will be grayed out. So we come to the center of the craft, or at very least the axis we want to mirror around. Apply with Mirror. And as you can see, that section is now filled in. Another thing to note is when you are editing a decoration with a lot of tabs in it, it might be difficult to figure out which particular item is what. And furthermore, how do you quickly select that? Of course, you could go through each tab with your wireframe turned on and see which one that pertains to. The other thing you can quickly do is, especially if you have wireframes turned on, you can just click on the singular item you want to edit, assuming you have the proper decoration selected, and now I can edit it. As simple as that. Before we close out this video, there is an important block to mention, and those are mimics. They fill a very similar role to decorations. They're a bit older, and decorations were actually based off of them. But when you place a mimic down, they will look just like this. It'll be a physical block. You cannot turn any other block you placed into mimics. It has to be a mimic block. And you'll see something very similar pop up to decorations when you hit on them. You have the same 9 sections that we saw earlier. Your block selection thing down at the bottom. I currently am using an alloy 4 slope to the one to the left. The only real advantage mimics have over decorations, especially because they do not stack, is mimics, especially when you can, one, copy and paste them, so I can quickly paste all 4 of these slopes across this entire area. The other thing we can do here is we can easily rotate it just by rotating the block itself. Earlier we touched on how to find decoration meshes the simple way, and to review, Control X at decoration, and here's the filter tab. Let's punch in the letter T and just see how many options come up. It's not hard to see that right away we are greeted with a ton of options. This is fantastic if we know exactly what we're looking for, but if you're someone newer who's probably watching this tutorial for this reason, you probably don't know what the mesh you want is labeled under. So let me show you a simple way. And this also touches on what's a quick way to place meshes. So we're going to keep it simple here. We're going to come over to our blocks, and let's bring a light alloy triangle slope. And normally, if you were to place this down as a decoration, it will be pointed in a very specific direction, usually on the forward axis of the vehicle, and then you have to rotate it from there. If you want to quickly place down a bunch of these facing upward, you'd have to rotate those hand by hand or copy and paste them after doing the first one. But this way, if you hit left control, left shift, and X, it places down a copy with the color you have selected as a decoration. Just note that it will make them slightly larger in the scaling section, just so that if you're placing this over a identical block or any other block for that matter, it doesn't Z-fight, especially in a block game like this where we tend to line things up. Reminder, that's what Z-fighting looks like. 2 pieces have the exact same size. Their textures are competing for one another for my attention. Anyways, so if we want to just keep placing it down, we can just keep going like that. And we've already placed 3 decorations now in this orientation. I haven't had to do anything in the menu. So a nice quick tool there. Another tool that we'll talk on quickly is changing the texture of meshes. So something very specific like, I don't know, let's say an ACB. Maybe we like the shape, but don't like the texture on it. What we can do, and I'm not just talking about color, by the way, so now that we've placed one down as a decoration, we can come to Material Override, and this will give us an example of a fair few of the materials in the game. I'm not sure if it's all of them, but this will allow us a good selection. So what if we wanted to look like a tank tread? Oh, that doesn't look great. But maybe we wanted to look like alloy. There we go. That's a little cursed. We now have an alloy ACB. But you can see just from that list, there is a impressive amount of material selection, and this can be applied to, as far as I understand, every mesh in the game. Oh, great. I'm making a freaking computer out of rubber. All right, this is going too far. Let's just roll the outro. So, that's the basics of decorations. Decorations are an incredibly versatile tool that can be used to create just about anything. These are just the lighter end of what can be done here. People have made entire ships covered front to back with these things to really get as much realism or aesthetic into it as possible. The sky is ultimately the limit. This is a fun tool that really opens up your creative outlets in this game. It's not necessary if you like sticking to functionality, but if you want to spice up your craft, I really recommend it. Hope this was some help, and have a great day.